One.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the March 3, 2022 meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted through the state of emergency, including the extension of its March 12, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the opening meeting law, this meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee is being conducted via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder, persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the following number 508-945-4410, 945-4410, and enter the conference ID 179-398-938 pound sign. That's again 179-398-938 pound sign. Or one may join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting to the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue, hearing, and or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by me as chair. So, with all that out of the way, we're going to have our call to order and a little attendance test. Florence, are you here?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes, I am.
Joanne, I'd like to just remind everybody to please use their microphones for getting feedback. Joanne?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Norma? Tommy?
Yes.
John Whalen?
Yes.
John Papalardo?
Present.
Andy?
Yes.
I am here again. We're getting some feedback, so if everybody could get their mics muted, please, that would be most helpful. We are going to do a little bit of an audible on our agenda just relative to the order of certain things because we have a couple of unanticipated absences. There are no minutes that we're going to look after today, so we're going to start with the presentation by Tom Temple on the water operating budget, followed by a water capital article and a capital project on Old Comers Road. So Tom, if we can hand it off to you, please, for the water related matters, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you letting me come speak before you. The operating budget this year, as you know, is increased $3,857,002. The increase associated with the operating budget is based on contractual obligations we have for our O&M, as well as COLA increases associated with people. Plant maintenance, chemical increases that we are anticipating for this coming year, as well as increases for the utility companies for servicing those different buildings that we have for water, sewer. Well, this is water, but for the water side of things, for all our pumping stations and the water treatment facility. At this point, if anybody has any questions regarding, any of that, I'd be more than happy to answer. But
questions for Tom on the operating budget for the water department?
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Oh, Florence, I'm sorry, please.
No, that's okay. Tom, have we in the past raised as much as $400,000 through the tax rate for the water operating budget, or is this an unusual year?
I'm not really sure on that. I'd probably deter that back to Alex on that side of things. I'm not really sure. I don't have that answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
Florence, I had the same question. I had two questions, each of which I think are better directed to Alex. One was that because I do think it's unusual that we're taking money out of the tax rate. So I was curious about the thinking behind that. Secondly, my question was the interest rate or the interest plug for short-term interest is suspiciously around $100,000. So I was wondering if what the thinking was behind that, but we can hold those for Alex's return or for a subsequent meeting. Other kind of operationally related questions to Tom? If not, I will. Oh, Andy, I'm sorry. I'm not picking up the hands very well today. Andy, please.
Yeah, okay. I think you'll discover that the 400,000 was in previous budgets. It's the sort of a plug for the cost of providing fire hydrant service. Essentially, it's the fire protection service for the town. There was extensive discussion of that before it was implemented now many years ago. And I think it's been occurring every year since. But let's check with Alex anyway.
Yeah, well, that's good to note, Andy. Thank you, and we'll put it on our list. Joanne, please. You're muted, Joanne. Joanne, you're muted still.
Thank you. Tom, quick update. Where are we with the PFAS progress being made with our well treatment that needed it and new wells coming online to help the process?
Yeah, with respect to well 5, well, actually, well 4, we've been doing really well since we put that online. We're pumping probably about approximately 4 hours a day with.
Tom has frozen. This is going to make our highlight reel, this meeting. Tom, can you hear me? Hey, Mark or Dallas, is there something you guys can do to reanimate Tom? Or do we just keep our fingers crossed?
I can try to kick him out of the meeting real quick and hopefully he'll rejoin.
Why don't we try that, because we're not accomplishing much this way. Well, how's everybody?
Mr. Chairman, if we can't get him back on, this question is rather general, so we could go on to something else.
But if we can't get him back on, we're probably going to wrap our meeting up earlier than anticipated.
I used to play a rock and roll song called The Freeze. I think it's working.
Barbara has her hand up.
Barbara.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Actually, my question can probably be answered by any one of you. I was just wondering, the substantial increase in the DEP testing, is that all related to the PFAS?
I'm sorry, did I lose you? I think I kicked out of there at some point.
Yeah, we had Dallas kick you out. You froze shortly after your reference to well 4.
Okay, just to reiterate what I was starting to say is well 4, we've been using that approximately 4 hours a day since it's been put online. Mass DEP has granted Chatham a waiver for sampling to quarterly because we've had non-detect on that well, which is great. Well 5 and 8, we've completed the survey. We've completed the clearing and grubbing for the trees needed to come down for the temporary vessel that's going to be put in place. We've done the subsoil sampling that we needed for borings out there. And it came back loose, granular, medium dense material, which is perfect for us. Groundwater elevation they determined was at 13 feet. So that's all good. We're looking at the GAC vessel was ordered by Weston and Sampson. It looks like that might be in place where we get it delivered in April of 2022. We're hoping to have it online by May of 2022. We only plan on using it up until probably September or August, September. Then we would take it offline. We'd winterize it, drain it, and check the carbon filters and make sure we're ready for next year. With respect to well 10 and 11, the 90% plans were received by this department. We made our review comments. We've met with staff and other liaison and the building department and other divisions to go over the proposed plans for any comments that needed to be added to the 100% plan drawings for the plans. They've been submitted, and we're hoping to go ahead and have it go before the planning board, and the application and everything squared away by March. So we're moving right along on all aspects of it. Some of the costs that we've incurred this year, increases as it relates to PFAS, as it relates to ongoing testing and the data that we're collecting for this. We've upped our game and do more testing that's required just to make sure we're staying well ahead of everything. So that gets us pretty close to where we are for all the water side of it. If you have any questions, any further questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Tom. That's fine for me. I appreciate it.
Barbara, I think you've got your hand up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Tom, everything that you just described would be the reason that the DEP testing the expense has increased so substantially?
Yeah, that's correct. And not only are we paying for the additional testing, but we're also sending it out for the sampling for the private vendors that are required by the state to get the results. So then we submit our results directly to Mass DEP from that company. So all our prices have increased because of the whole PFAS side of it.
Other questions for Tom? Tom, I've got one just relative to the PFAS issue going forward. Is there a way that you can see through the testing of kind of incipient problems at a particular well, or is it literally kind of an overnight thing and suddenly we're in breach, at the next test or following the most recent test? Do we have any visibility into the potential cost structure we might be facing going forward as a town relative to this issue broadly?
I think what we're doing is because we're being proactive in not only testing the quarterly like we are required, but we're also testing the wells that we did see a higher hit on the wells where they're still under the threshold, but we're monitoring those more than we normally or more than we have to. We're being proactive to make sure we're staying on top of it. We're also, when we're looking at the upgrades for different plants and water treatment, we're also looking at that time, when we look at these plants where we're like well 5 and 8, for instance, we're looking at, do we look at not only the removal of manganese, but also PFAS as we're moving forward into the future. So we're keeping track with everything we can and making sure that, we have no signs at wells 10 and 11 for any type of PFAS there. But, when we go to expand and complete wells 10 and 11, we're making sure that we've left room in the facility to make sure that we can accommodate if we ever had to add in PFAS. So it's not going to cost the town exorbitant money to move forward in that direction if it ever happened.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. I think that sounds quite prudent. Okay, if there are no further questions for Tom, I'll take.
I just
Florence, oh my goodness, I'm being so slack at looking at hands. Florence, please.
I have a quick one. Is there the PFAS is a problem pervasive, Cape-wide and statewide. Is there money? Any money that can be used from the, what is that fund called? Yeah, trust.
Yeah, I believe that's what we're looking at for some of this work. I believe Alex had indicated to both the Board of Selectmen as well as the Finance Committee that, we're putting funds towards that if it's available to us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other hands, if there are no further questions, then I will take a motion to adopt the proposed water department operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call, Florence.
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Joanne? Oh. Joanne, you still with us? Tommy?
Yes.
John Whalen?
Yes,
Thank you, Joanne. John Whalen?
Yes.
yes,
I got you, Joanne. Thank you. John Papalardo?
Yes, please.
Andy?
Yes.
And the chair is in favor.
okay.
So 8-0 on the operating budget. All right, Tom. So then back to you, if we could, please, for the water capital, the $750,000 that's proposed for construction of replacement water mains, please.
Yeah, this is an article that we utilize for old undersized unlined water mains within the town, as well as services, public portion of the water services to customers. And if we've had a history of leaks on a certain street, we try to replace those water mains. As we find out when we have leak histories or when we're doing the sewer work as well. So, we do the upgrades in conjunction with the sewer project, so we're not having to go back and dig up a brand new paved road 5 years, 10 years down the road. We can do it at the same time. So this money is put towards, upgrading old, unlined, undersized mains and services that are within the public right-of-way layout. So it's an important item because if we have a lot of water main breaks, we end up with a situation where we're wasting a lot of water, and it's a valuable resource that we don't want to lose, and we don't want to lose the pumpage, especially during summer months when we have everybody here for visitors and tourists, et cetera. So we have enough problems trying to keep up with irrigation and pumpage. So we saw in the last month or so, we were below numbers all the way through for like 5 and 6 months in a row here during this time frame, and then we had a spike where we had 54-degree weather, then back to 30-degree weather to 51, then to 0, and we started seeing breaks in services, et cetera, happening with that. Well, we went from -3% compared to the previous year to 16% over. So, and that's just with services. That's not even counting if we had water main breaks. So, this is crucial. It's a huge item for us, very important. So. We're hoping we get a positive feedback from you guys.
Terrific. Thank you, Tom. Questions for Tom Florence? I see your hand up. My Teams platform is frozen. I can't lower your hand. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's a new hand or an old hand.
My hand was lowered, but I do have a quick question. There's a blank in the explanation. It says, will you fill that in before town meeting? It says in 2019-20, department experienced 3 water main breaks, and in 2021 there were blank water main breaks.
Yeah, we wait till we get close enough to it before we have to go to the printer to give you the actual number that we have up at that point before it goes to the printer. So, we're constantly having issues and breaks and whatever. So to put a number in there right now, if someone forgets to put it in, then we're giving you, probably a smaller number than it could be. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Andy, please.
Tom, is there any estimate, or is it kind of a useless process to try to figure out how many more of the old unlined or undersized water mains we have?
I've got a list that I go off of for the old mains that we have, and we're just picking away at the old ones that are we've had histories and issues with. We try to loop wherever we can loop, because when you have dead end lines, they become stagnant. So you'll notice, like when we did some of the sewer projects the last couple of years, we've looped some of these streets that weren't connected, so that we have consistent water running through the pipe. So we end up with a better quality water and a better system. So that's our goal. Anytime we can do that, and by replacing a 2-inch main that might be serving 7 or 8 houses with an 8-inch water main and a hydrant, you may end up with a hydrant at the beginning and one at the end. We're able to flush the hydrants versus trying to use a blow off for the small line, and it's just a much better situation for the town to have proper mains installed, and the ability to flush and have hydrants to put out fires instead of a blow off that you can't hook up, and if there was, in the event there was a fire. So for fire suppression, for the overall line, it's a much better condition for the town.
Okay, further questions for Tom, please? Tommy Doan. You're on mute, Tommy.
How about now?
You're good.
Tom, where does the homeowner's responsibility start or the town responsibility end on a water main?
Yeah, the water main is the town's responsibility. The water service, the section within the public right-of-way layout, you'll notice that most houses, including yours, has a curb stop at the property line. It's a little shut off. It's a round area where there's a key type thing that we go in and we can shut off your service if need be, if it needs to be replaced or fixed. That's the point where the town's responsibility ends and the homeowners begins from that point to the house. But everything in the roadway is the town of Chatham within our right-of-way layout for the actual main hydrants, et cetera.
Thank you.
Tom, I had two questions, if I could, please. Is there a general figure that you have or maintain or carry for the cost to repair an average main break?
No, it would be easy if it was just that simple. It depends if it's it depends if it's an 8-inch line, if it's a 10-inch or 12-inch main, if it's cast iron, if it's a asbestos pipe that was put in the 60s. The asbestos is a little bit tricky because you get more flux with it. You'll end up with longitudinal cracking, and you might end up with areas where you have a further area. Then when you replace it, you have to put couplings on each end. So, and you have to chase that down. So it becomes it's never the same. It's kind of like a snowstorm. No two are the same, and one could be a lot more, work and lose a lot more roadway and more cost associated with reconstructing the roadway back after you've lost a couple hundred feet of water main. So it's I wish it was that easy, but it's not. It's really a case by case.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Do you have a figure for what percentage of the Chatham water main the delivery system is still in lead?
We've done our best to replace, and even when we're looking at these reconstruction, anytime we do reconstruction of roadways, anytime we're doing sewer installation, we're looking at all of that. We pull all the records for all the water services. If there's any goosenecks that are still left that are lead going from in our right-of-way layout, we bring it back to the property line and change it and put the homeowner on notice saying that their service has been changed to the town's layout. And if they have either steel or if they have any type of lead service in that, we put them on notice so they can replace that as well. So we do it in conjunction with this. That's the whole purpose of this, to get our water all up to snuff where it needs to be.
Good. Thank you. Okay, if there are any further questions, again, I see a stuck Tommy Doan hand, but that may be just my my misbehaving platform. If there are no further questions, then I'll take a motion to adopt the water capital water main article of $750,000 for the design and construction of replacement water mains.
So moved.
Thank you, John. Second.
Second.
All right, Florence, in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yes.
Joanne? Joanne?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
John Whalen?
Yes.
John Papalardo?
Yes.
Thank you. Andy?
Yes.
And the chair's in favor, 8-0 on that one. Tom, thank you for that. Next, we have the proposed Old Comers Road traffic safety improvements, the installation of 4 LED solar-powered stop signs at that interesting and occasionally dangerous intersection. Tom, over to you, please.
Yeah, this was brought before the Traffic Safety Committee, and the Traffic Safety Committee recommended that we purchase and install 4 LED illuminated stoplights that will flash and blink on and off for the 4-way intersection. As part of this number that's not included in there, there's also speed limit signs in the 2 directions along the main run to go ahead and just tell people how fast they're going so they can slow down, and it'll tell them to the speed limit and to go slower in the attempt to get them to slow down as they approach that intersection. On the other 2 intersections, we're planning on putting signage set back from the intersection, explaining that there's a dangerous intersection up ahead, and to slow down, there's a stop sign ahead. So we plan on hitting all 4, though that's all included in the cost of this area. There was 8 I believe, eight major accidents that have occurred since 2015 to 2020. This is an attempt to eliminate that from happening in the future. So,
Very good. Questions for Tom, please? All right, not seeing any raised hands. I'm guessing that means people think it's generally a good idea. If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to adopt, again, Article X, Old Commerce Road Traffic Safety Improvements for $80,000, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Tommy.
Second. Second.
Thank you, Andy. Florence, in favor?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Joanne? Joanne? Tommy?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Thank you, Joanne.
yes. Yes,
I got you, Joanne. Thank you. Tommy?
Yes.
Thank you. John Whalen?
Yes.
John Papalardo? I think John had a jump. He had a 2 o'clock fishing policy meeting, so I'm guessing he's off. Andy?
Yes.
And I'm in favor. So 7-0 on that. Thank you, Tom. I think now we go to the CPC articles. Debbie, are you still with us? I see Debbie here, and John O'Toole I see is with us. So Debbie, can we turn it over to you for the Bikeways Committee, or we go directly to John? And Tom, I think we're probably done with you unless you think that you want to stick around for George Ryder Road.
I was going to stick around in case there was any questions where I'm the liaison to the Bikeway Committee. If there's anything
Perfect.
that you needed from me, I'll be in the background. I'll just shut my camera and my mic off in case you need any questions.
That'd be perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So Debbie, are you out there?
Yes, John O'Toole is here. The Bikeways Committee gave an excellent presentation to the Community Preservation Committee. And so this application is for $90,000 for improvements to the bike path on George Ryder Road. So I would like to turn it over to John to give an explanation to you.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome, John.
I had stepped away for a moment and I didn't hear that introduction. So if you're looking for me to do something, please, I beg you to repeat that so I know what I'm doing.
I think Debbie is looking for you to present the background with respect to the proposed bikeway improvements on George Ryder Road, please.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course.
So the Bikeways Committee has a long history of looking for various points in town and in particular on the Old Colony Rail Trail in terms of areas that could improve safety. As you know, we were sponsored a flashing warning light at Route 137 to warn drivers of possible walkers and cyclists crossing Route 137. We have been approved to do the same thing on Old Queen Anne Road and Stepping Stone Road. That has not been installed, but we hope that will move forward in the summertime. And a year or so ago, we identified George Ryder Road as a really significant safety risk for pedestrians, cyclists, skateboarders, runners, what have you, because you share the section of the Old Colony Rail Trail, which shares the roadway with George Ryder Road for approximately a quarter of a mile between the north entrance and the south entrance of the Old Colony Rail Trail. We had obtained some funding from the Community Preservation Committee last year. They awarded us $25,000, which we used to engage Howard Stein Hudson, the town's roadway design firm, to come out and have a look at that stretch of roadway and make some recommendations in terms of what things they would suggest to improve or enhance safety, which they did. They provided a technical memorandum, which is quite detailed, delivered to us last fall. We, the Bikeways Committee, and Tom and Gary Glazer had a look at that. We then elected to move forward with a program that would entail construction or development of an off-road multi-use path between the north entrance to the Old Colony Rail Trail by the airport hangar, running south to the southern entrance to the Old Colony Rail Trail, just above Ocean State Job Lot. So in order to move forward with that, we have submitted an application. We submitted 2 applications which are complementary to 2 different organizations, one of which is the Community Preservation Committee. The other is Mass Trails, which is a state office that funds multi-use trails throughout the state. They have a budget of typically around $6 million, but that covers a lot of territory. So what we've done, we've submitted an application based on the cost estimates provided by HSH to develop this off-road or separate multi-use path, kind of bordering the airport land mostly. What we proposed to the Mass Trails organization was the amount of $265,000, which covers a little bit of construction, some a bit of adjustment to the parking area there along the airport, and some signage and so forth. And the Mass Trails program requires a cost share by another organization. We've come to the Community Preservation Act, our Community Preservation Committee, and proposed that they award $90,000, excuse me, which would sum up to $275,000 for the entire project. And so the $90,000 requesting from the Community Preservation Act is really a cost share in a much larger project. The condition that we've proposed to both the Community Preservation Committee and Mass Trails is that if we are unsuccessful at obtaining funding from either Community Preservation or Mass Trails, the other application would be withdrawn. So this is kind of an all or nothing proposal on the part of the Bikeways Committee. In the course of moving this package along, I've talked to the Airport Commission, talked to the Board of Selectmen, talked to the Traffic Safety Commission. They've all indicated good support, in some cases very strong support for the project. So that's a bit of the background on this particular proposal to the Community Preservation Committee.
Well, that's helpful, John. Andy, I see you've got your hand up, but I first want to try to clarify the numbers, if we could, either with John or Debbie. The document that we have from Alex, that's the draft warrant article, says the total project cost is $365,000. To be clear, John, you made a reference to 265.
I misspoke.
Okay, so the numbers we're talking about are 275 for Mass Trails, prospectively, and 90,000 from CPC for a total of 365.
That's correct.
Okay. And Debbie, just very quickly, has your committee taken action on this yet?
Our committee voted 8-0 in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Andy, questions, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious, and maybe Tom may be in the best position to answer this. This talks about an 8-foot wide shared 2-way multi-use path on the east side of the road. So the east side of the road includes the 2 curb cuts for the VFW. It includes at least 1 curb cut for a house, at least another curb cut for a retail business and landscaping business. There may be some others in there as well. Do we actually have width within the town road layout, and how do you handle curb cuts?
Yeah, we have adequate distance and across the right-of-way layout. The plans that would eliminate the crosswalk, the furthest crosswalk away from the airport. The crosswalk adjacent to the police station would be the main crosswalk. It would then go along the fence. The parking stalls would be pushed out further into the right-of-way layout perpendicular to that. And you'd have that 8-foot path going along the fence area. And then there'd be a curb, a bituminous type 3 type curbing in accordance with Mass DOT specifications, where it looks like a bread basket type that will separate the bike path and the edge of pavement. So it'll all be contained within the right-of-way layout and then hook right back up to the existing bike trail that's there. That's the current phase that John is talking about at this point in time. As we move further, the other plan would be to tie the remainder of that down into the bike spur that's currently there, that brings you down to the beaches and brings you down towards Ocean State Job Lot, the beaches, and Dunkin' Donuts in that area. So that would be a phase 2, if you will, down the road somewhere.
But as I recall, though, I mean, on that east side, as soon as you get to the VFW, there's quite a downhill grade there. They've had to use a big retaining wall to maintain their parking. You know, is that in the town road layout, or are we gonna have to add to the wall? Or?
You'd be eliminating the other side. If you recall, there's the bike lane on the right side, and there's one on the left side of the roadway. And you'd be pushing everything over to that other side of the striping, and therefore you're keeping it further away from the slopes that you're talking about. I'm getting feedback. But in any case, so the road would be restriped and relayed over further away from where it currently is. And that gives you that room that you're talking about away from there. And it's, my understanding that HSH has talked with all the abutters and as well as John O'Toole and the Bikeway Committee and the landscape company, the VFW, and the other openings that are there. They're all on board with it. They all think it's a great idea. So it's something where we've had no pushback from anyone at this time. So, it seems to be a cry for everybody. And just so you know, it's my understanding that they don't consider, even though you have the 2 lanes on George Ryder Road, they don't consider that a bike path unless it's the 8-foot wide path connection to it. So this would bring that section that's currently out there where they don't consider that part of the trail. This would bring it into compliance with that as that extension of the trail. So I think it's a win-win for the town, and kudos to John and the Bikeway Committee for their hard work and effort to bring it to this point.
I think it's a great idea and certainly necessary.
Thank you, Tom. Florence, I see your hand is up, please.
Yes, John, so the parking that currently exists along the airport, that would become parallel parking, is that correct?
No, it will remain perpendicular parking.
Oh, well, okay. And still there's enough room for the shared pathway.
Yeah, I believe that, John, I believe there's maybe 3 spots that will be parallel parkings, and because there's only one spot that's really lost there because of the widening for the handicap van stall that will be installed.
Yeah, the net of the plan that the Bikeways Committee recommended as part of the proposal to the Mass Trails is there would be a loss of a single parking slot, but there's a gain of 2 handicap slots, which are much wider than the normal parking spot. So I think that's, on balance, that seems like a good thing, where there are no handicapped accessible slots there now. If this plan were funded, we would have 2, although there would be a net loss of a single slot. And at this point in time, we've done a survey of the usage of the parking slots, and there's certainly is not used at capacity now, even in the summertime during peak time. So there's room to lose that 1 spot.
Thank you. And my other question is, have you submitted the grant to Mass Trails, and when would you think you might be hearing about this?
So the grant application was submitted at the end of January. Their schedule is that they review all of their applications, and then they announce the awardees in June. So we could expect that if we're successful, that the money would become available for the work to be done, in the early July timeframe.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Tom, if you're still with us, I just have a very quick one relative to what John just said. Would we really anticipate trying to do this project in the middle of July and August?
No, we'd probably, we'd probably work with them to try to get it done on the off season if we can do it, on the shoulder areas where we're just coming out of that. But if we had to, because we're restricted by a permit, then we'd probably work through it. But it's adjacent to that, and we certainly don't want to inconvenience the business. And they do a big business there at that restaurant. So our intent would be to try to do it if possible when it's a slower period of time for them and everybody else in that area.
Good. Thank you.
If I might add something
Yes,
to that.
please, John.
So the time frame that we proposed to Mass Trails is a 2-year design and construction period. The first year, assuming we're successful, would be design. So there wouldn't be any construction done this year. But the idea would be to have HSH do a detailed design and then work on the construction contract. And then the plan we submitted does contemplate that there would be a suspension, compliance with the normal roadway construction plans that we've implemented in the past. But we're sensitive to the disruption to be caused by this and have tried to work around it.
Good to hear. Thank you for that. Okay, further questions for Debbie or Tom or John? If not, I will take a motion for the $90,000 proposed improvement to the George Ryder Road Bikeway.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Florence?
Yes.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yes, sir.
Joanne?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
John Whalen?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And the chair's in favor. So 7-0. Debbie on that one. John, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the grant application. And Debbie, do we know if we have anybody here from Penrose to speak to the next EPA article of a potential contribution to the project up the Cape Cod 5 former HQ in Orleans?
I do not know if Rio Sakedi, who is supposed to present this, is here. Could you make yourself known, Rio, if you are here? Oh dear.
Well, I'm inclined without any kind of presentation to defer a vote. I will solicit the views of the committee if people feel otherwise. What do people think? Somebody say something.
Well, I think I would like to hear from them. It's a substantial amount of money. It deals with affordable housing, so I would like to hear from them and where it fits in the general scheme of things.
Thank you, Florence. Others? Joanne, please. You're muted, but it looks like you're nodding.
I definitely want a presentation on this.
Good, thank you. Joanne, John, please.
I agree with Florence. We should hear it. So.
Yep. Okay, well, that's good enough for me. Unless Barbara or Tommy, you feel strongly to the contrary, my suggestion is we defer this to a future meeting.
Well, I agree that we should have a presentation, but I wonder if we could discuss in the general idea of it. I mean, basically, there's a huge project going on over there, and the developer's asking each of the towns if they'll contribute to it, since the affordable housing will benefit all of the towns. So just generically speaking, how do we feel about that?
Well, so before we go down that path, I acknowledge that, and I think it's a good idea, but I can also acknowledge the fact that absent the formal presentation, I don't necessarily want to kind of lock people into an expressed point of view. Barbara?
Okay.
So if people are comfortable having that conversation informally, I'm happy to do that. But if they really would prefer to wait, I think I'd be inclined to the latter. Just again, I don't want people to find themselves having heard a presentation and then wanting to change their mind of something that they thought was a terrific idea today and find out next week that it may not be so. Others feel that, or?
Yeah, and I agree with you, Stephen. And I think that it would behoove the CPA or Debbie to get in touch with Penrose and say, you must come to our next scheduled meeting in order for the Finance Committee to vote on this.
It's like the January 6th committee. No waivers. Okay. Joanne, question, please.
Mr. Chairman, has the Community Preservation Committee voted on this
I
item?
will defer that to the chair of the CPC. Debbie?
Yes, we did vote on it. It was 8-0 again. I would just like to sum up with the fact that this is for 62 family rental units in the former Cape Cod 5 building. And it's been approved by the Harwich Community Preservation Committee for $100,000. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Yeah, we have a pretty good write-up on the project. Debbie, that was submitted to us.
I also want to mention that they did get kind of short notice, so we'll be in touch with them again.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think anybody's harboring any ill will towards Penrose or the project because they didn't. We've had no shows before, so not an issue. Okay, well that exhausts our agenda for the day. One thing I do want to say is that the next kind of deliverable from the committee, in addition to the votes that we're taking periodically, is our report to the warrant. That is due on the 22nd of March, which is when the warrant closes and will be sent to the printer at the end of that day. I would like to hear from everybody what we think about prospective topics for that. I think Florence has circulated last year's edition to everyone. I have tried in writing these documents to kind of create a bit of a form, so I would anticipate that what we deliver this year will look formulaically, much like last year's, most of the same charts and graphs and tables and the like. But insofar as topics are concerned, I would welcome the chance to hear from members of the committee either now or by just a direct email to me alone, not copying everybody, on topics of interest or concern going forward. I will endeavor to do as much of this drafting while I can. Florence may have to shoulder a little bit of it, depending on kind of where I am relative to my visit to Boston. But my hope is to be able to put this thing to bed with the support of the committee in a timely fashion. So,
did Alex circulate a copy of the report from last town meeting?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay, all right. I was looking for it in my email.
Yeah, look, I did send it out to everybody, either me or Stephen, but it's definitely in there, Andy.
If anybody finds they can't locate it, just send me a note and I'll flick you a copy.
We'll send another copy.
Easily done.
Yeah.
So since it's not formally on our agenda, I think we probably should hold off on any detailed conversation about this.
Right.
But again, if people have topics they want presented for consideration, please flick me a note or give me a call and let me know. And with that, unless there's anything further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, Florence, please.
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Tommy.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
And I'm in favor. 7-0. Thank you, everybody. Debbie, if you're still with us, thank you very much. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank
Mark
you.
and Company, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.